guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Christi Lukasiak. Welcome to my New Orleans house. I never film from my New Orleans house, so today I am filming from my New Orleans house, so welcome. I got some new things happening here. Some of this stuff is new to my house that I'm really excited about. Love this little house here. For today's video, I don't know what I could possibly talk about this week other than Miss Nia Sue's book. If you haven't picked up your copy of Bottom of the Pyramid, I encourage you as a Dance Moms fan to definitely do that, because I will say I love when the fandom rallies and supports the girls, so grab Nia's book. First of all, I have to say, how did all of you get all of these early copies of this book? Because I know the author and I just got mine yesterday. Who do you know? Who can I call? I went to an event Monday where it was a book signing. Nia was talking about her book for the first time. Chloe was the moderator of the panel. When I look at any of the girls, they will always be 8 to me. But for some reason, those two especially will always seem like 8-year-olds. I can't explain it. My God, Chloe is the same age I was when I had her. So to see them on stage being these well-spoken women with opinions and experiences and being able to hold their own, my little heart squeezed so hard. I will always be profoundly proud of all of them, but that was just such a really lovely moment. I think after Brooke and Paige, I have known Nia the longest. She lived in my neighborhood a couple streets over. She joined the dance company. I think she did not do Wash That Man, which was the first competition dance. I think she joined the second year that Chloe was on the competition team when they did Wicked Little Girls. Actually, Paige's Make Some Noise costume is from Wicked Little Girls. Kelly just tweaked it a little bit. But anyway, I will never forget being with Holly in the audience watching it, and she's looking at the stage and she's they have these giant hats on with these giant brooms, and she's and then Abby turns the light off. She turned the light off so they could have black lights on stage during the dance recital, and she's somebody's gonna lose an eye, and lo and behold, somebody got their eye poked. Those are the memories I have. And of course, I have a million Dance Moms memories. When I think of our girls, I think of them as the girls I knew, not necessarily the girls on the show. Do you know if that makes sense? First of all, I have to say, the people who endorse the book, bravo for all of these amazing people. Gloria Gaynor, obviously Misty Copeland. And I have a wonderful story. As a thank you for Chloe's love and support, in writing the foreword of the book, a couple of weeks ago, Nia actually got tickets to see Misty's very last performance. And she and Chloe went together. And I found out while I was in New Orleans, and I texted Holly immediately, and I was just my heart is so full. There's something that just was so special about that to me, for those two to be together watching such a profound moment in dance history for many reasons. Misty, I think she was named principal right around the time Dance Mom started. Obviously, she has this incredible legacy, being the first Black, I think they just call it principal dancer at New York City Ballet. Just the impact that she's had on the dance world, and the fact that our two girls got to go together really was a special moment for me. But you guys know I cry a lot, so I probably cried at that moment. I'll be completely honest, I am not completely finished with the book yet, so I feel I'm going to talk more about stuff at the first half than the second half, and that's honestly just because I haven't gotten a chance to finish it, and I wanted to put this video out. If you guys like this video and you want to see a part 2, maybe I'll do a quick follow-up afterwards. First thing I have to say is, Becky Homecki here absolutely was all in on this pyramid photo. I'm okay, what costume is this? And I started in my brain, I'm I know that dance, I know this dance, I know that solo. I cannot help myself. In my heart of hearts, I will always be a costume dance mom. Is Holly's glam costume that she was in charge of and won a costume award for in this pyramid of costume somewhere? Because it should be, because I never won a costume award and Dr. Holly did. You would think I was going to start with the foreword, but I'm actually not. I'll get back to the foreword later. There are some parts of this book that are absolutely hilarious that I don't think people are giving enough attention to. For instance, I will start off by saying, when she is describing the den at the studio, I was literally cracking up, because it's it had a weird smell and it housed pests like ants and stink bugs screaming. Even a clip of me somewhere in Back to the Bar where Holly is holding her purse in pyramid, and I literally said, I think Holly Holly brought her bag in because she didn't want it to stay in the den because she knew it would end up full of ants. I love that she's like, the den was crusty, but we all loved it. Those are the types of things I think the girls are going to remember like their whole lives. The other part that really made me laugh at the beginning is that she's like, my earliest memory is that I was always frightened of Abby. She was sitting at the front desk, filling up space with her tremendous presence. She's loud, big, and draped in black. And then I thought about the time when she was screaming at the bus driver and I said, here comes this big black cloud screaming, bus driver. I never stopped to think for a moment how big, and I don't mean big, because I know you guys think I'm like referring to like body size. I don't mean that. I mean just like big of a presence Abby was, because she was big to me, but I can't imagine how like imposing she felt to a bunch of little girls. So that was the first time I like ever really thought about that. And I was like, oh my, like that probably was a little intimidating. I loved when Nia was talking about some of my favorite dances that group ever did. She talks about My Hair Looks Fierce, which was the origin story of the afro that I do not believe Holly had in her purse. I don't remember if Nia had a moment at the end of that, but she definitely had a moment at the end of Chicks, which Chicks could be my favorite dance ever. If you're not subscribed to the Back to the Bar Patreon, I do have Chicks on there. Listening to her story about when she was diagnosed with, let me make sure I'm saying it right, RND. I remember that very, very explicitly when that happened, because like Nia was in class and then all of a sudden she was gone. I actually ran into her and Holly. I think it might have been Nia's actual birthday, because her birthday is right after Chloe's. I think Holly had Nia out of like the care center she was in for the day. We were at painting pottery for Chloe's birthday, and I think I saw Nia and Holly. I'm almost sure of it. I would have to check. But that was hard. That's a hard memory to go back to, because hearing Nia talk about it in depth, even though I've known them forever, I didn't always quite know the extent of that and like what exactly had happened and how the things she experienced. And I can just say, as a parent, I can't imagine how scary that would have been. It really is a great point that when she came back, she hadn't danced. I mean, she hadn't walked, but she hadn't danced in so long. And I don't think I ever really truly considered the impact of that and how close it was to the start of the show. So that just goes to show you, while we all were there having the same experience, all of our experiences were totally different because of what was going on with us personally. Reading that, I think, was really eye-opening for me. And I was like, oh my God, like it gave me a really different sense of the extra challenge she had in that moment. Okay, so this is one of my favorite moments. I actually texted Holly when I read this, because I'm like, did your child just call you out in the book? And she's like, yes. Because she goes, my mom didn't really know how to do hair or makeup. She was a principal, not a hair and makeup artist. Before we started Dance Moms, the only makeup I ever saw her wear was lipstick. She did her best, but at a certain point, I decided to take over and do my hair and makeup myself. God bless Dr. Holly. But no, she was not a hair and makeup guru. But I just love that Nia called her out. I thought that was really funny and cute. And just goes to show that we are all subject to our own children's ridicule. Going back to all of us being in the same situation, but not realizing quite the extent of what other people may have gone through, there was some stuff that was really hard to read, that even though I may have been sitting upstairs, I had no idea had been said to Nia. And to read it was really, really bothersome. I was a little shocked. I don't know how I would have reacted, not even as Nia's mom, but as a mom in and of itself, if I had heard these things being said, because I don't know if you know, I have a really hard time like keeping my mouth shut. I tended to get myself in trouble for things that weren't even my own battle, not all the time, but sometimes. And I feel like had I heard these things, I probably would have said something, which would have just in turn ended up working out negatively for me. But it seemed like these things were said inside the studio. And the first thing was about the hair. Don't you wish you had white girl hair? That's really brutal. Holly had said it to me years and years ago. It probably was before the show, because Chloe had really long, thick, beautiful blonde hair. And I remember Holly saying something to me about Nia thinking Chloe had the most perfect hair she had ever seen. And I stopped and I never really thought about it. That was like a profound moment for me, because I didn't realize how big of a pain point hair could be for a black girl. And the fact that she like just loved Chloe's hair, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just hair. I wasn't dismissive of it. I just never had occurred to me the difference. I don't know, that's probably wrong of me to say, but it's an honest assessment. I didn't occur, but that always stuck with me. And then I always tried to be very thoughtful about that. I remember on Sesame Street, there was a little Muppet who I think had natural hair, and it was this big positive moment. And I remember identifying with that because Holly had told me the story about Nia. Again, I am not perfect. I have obviously probably done things or said things that were hurtful and unintentionally, I would hope. Some of this is really hard to read and very sad to think about. There's somebody that I considered to be a little girl that was very much like a family member who was experiencing this stuff, and I was so blind to it, you know? Again, not making excuses. It speaks volumes about how when you live in your own world, you tend to not look outside of it sometimes. Another thing that really stuck out to me was, and this was in season 6, I think. So I was long gone in season 6. This is when Nia was going through puberty, and she was really, I guess, going through some big scrutiny about her body, and it was being put on TV. And she talks about how going through puberty on TV and trying to hide her body was really hard. I know that that is always something that all of the girls worried about, because you are changing. You're going through puberty. It's your worst time of your life as far as feeling awkward. And then you're doing it on a very national stage. I can remember when the girls would get their periods one at a time, and we would be like, oh my God, they're in costumes on stage. Like, we have to handle this. It's a different dynamic when you start thinking about the things that normal girls go through, and our girls were doing it on an international show at this point. So that really resonated with me. So I thought that was an important part of the book. Something else she brings up is how rehearsals were supposed to be a time to make mistakes. Unfortunately, the way that the show was set up is they were so scared to even make mistakes in rehearsals, they couldn't really even grow and learn. I knew that, but to hear it from their perspective was tough. Oh, this is a great point. I love that Nia talked about the core group and the OGs dancing as one, that they would literally breathe together because they were so in sync, they even blinked as one. I think that is the magic of those girls. I do. I always have. And that's why, even though we never said they were the best dancers, they were the best team, because I think that cohesion that they had was remarkable. And that's why when you brought new people in, they didn't always fit. They could be an exquisite dancer, but they didn't dance as one. And that's how somebody would stand out. And then the other thing she said, the new dancers didn't really have to abide by the same rules and contracts that we did. And so when people are always out there like screaming from the rooftops, oh, it wasn't that bad. No, it probably wasn't that bad for you, because you weren't beholden to the same things that our girls and we were. So I'm sure it wasn't that bad at all. Oh, I love that she talks about they were not allowed to do fun things like skiing, snowboarding, ice skating, jumping on a trampoline. Nia, you forgot riding a bike. You guys weren't allowed to ride bikes. I remember specifically. And then she goes on, she talks about the iPad situation. To this day, I have said that watching that day was one of the hardest things that I have witnessed. It was an ugly scene to see my friend and my daughter's friend go through, and then it was a hard thing to watch our kids see and them react to. Not trying to take away like Nia's experience, but it was just traumatic across the board. And then it was really hard to read the times where Nia felt excluded. It can't take away, I can't be like, well, that's not true, I remember it differently. Yeah, I do probably remember some things differently, but that's not my experience. That's Nia's experience. And so if she felt that way, then it's absolutely her truth, you know? And that makes me really sad that she felt excluded, because I know there were plenty of times that Chloe really felt excluded as well. And I remember how sad she was. And then to think that Nia felt excluded too, I almost wish I could go back in time and be like, okay, if you feel excluded and you feel excluded, why don't you guys just like go off and be your own little thing? But again, at the time, very unaware, because you're so focused on yourself sometimes and your own daughter, you don't see outside of that. But reading that was really, it was one of those moments that I was like, oh, I can see where that came from, and I really do feel badly. But there was a moment in the show where I talked about, I think I got in a fight with Melissa in the dressing room, and I looked at Holly and I said, you know how this feels, because I think that Nia had felt excluded, and I knew that at that moment, and that's why I said that to Holly, because I knew that Nia probably experienced similar things, and now I know that for certain. I am looking forward to finishing the book. I have to say I am profoundly proud of Nia. I hope that people look at the book and take really positive things away from this, as far as not just Nia's story, but also as an example of how you can do better, you know, because as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Just looking at it and reflecting on her words made me think like, okay, I didn't realize that I could have done better. So it's a great reminder that no one is perfect, none of us. I mean, I think everybody across the board on the cast is getting heat in some way or the other, but I'm not gonna let that take away from a really positive experience from a little girl who is now grown, who is an amazing friend of my daughter. Nia, you get all of the flowers, but more importantly, you get the crown. So I'm sending you a kiss. I did not know that Nia asked Chloe to write the foreword of the book until maybe a month ago. I was like shocked, like everybody else, when not shocked in a bad way, but like I had no idea. So I was like, what? How did I not know this? And then when I read what she had to say, I'm really proud of Chloe too. I thought her words were beautiful. I'm so happy through so many things that could be negative that she has friends like Nia and all of the girls who will be her friend throughout her lifetime. All of that bad experience created a bond, and I think Chloe said it, grit, that is lovely to see in adulthood in the shape of really wonderful friendships. So Chloe, you always make me cry a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I can't wait to finish the book. Comment below if you have read it. I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, see you guys back next week. Bye.